Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another draft analysis. Yes, I know. Uh, so many of these days. Um, but yeah, we're back with the Nimbasa City League this time for season 3. Um, Once again, this is the league that is hosted by my good pal Ian. Lots of neat coaches in this league, and yeah, a good bunch of people, good bunch of friends. Make sure you check out the YouTube as well. I'll put that in the description if you are interested. And yeah, anyway, let's get on with the draft analysis. So standard drafting rules: 1,000 points per team. So that's like your tier one, your tier two, two tier threes, tier four, tier five, 400 free points, and you can get a mega. Lower tier mega gives you points to spend on free points as well, etc. You do need to draft a mega. We all know what the rules are. Um, but yeah, so draft order, as you can see on this slide, I was ninth, so right in the middle there. Not the best pick, but I feel like I got an okay team out of this. It's not the team I was envisioning. It's not the team I overly wanted, but I feel like it it kind of works. Um, I did franchise a pick from last season, which I will not spoil now. It's the last pick in this video, so you will see it then. But yeah, well, obviously at ninth pick, I'm not really gonna get anything I super duper wanted. Like I wanted Kyron Black, but that went before it got to me. Um, and at that point, there was not really anything that I was looking at specifically, so I just went for like the pick that I think could be the most versatile that was left at that point, and that I feel like can go on multiple different kinds of teams. And that was Landorus Therian. So probably the best pick that was still available to me at this point in time. But yeah, we all know what it does. It's in every OU team ever made, and even some Hoopers teams occasionally. Um, But yeah, Intimidate, very weak to ice, get stealth rocks, set up, can double dance with agility and or rock polish or whatever one it gets. I'm not sure. One of them, both of them, maybe. Sword stance, I think it gets special setup as well. Maybe nasty plot, maybe calm mind. I can't remember, but it does get them. It can be quite defensive with that intimidate, obviously. Uh, but yeah, it gets the U-turn, so it's got some momentum. I think this is a good mon to start the draft with, really, because you can build anything out from this point. Um, but yeah, so takes a few more picks. Obviously, I'm right in the middle of the pack, so I don't get too many picks close together, which is always nice to have. Even like I prefer to be at the back wheel if I'm not near the front wheel. So right in the middle kind of sucks, but people have got to be there, so it happens to us all at some point. But yeah, when it eventually gets back to me, my next pick, I go for the final one of these four that were remaining, um, which is Latias. So yeah, Mega Latias, Mega Latios, and Latios had all been taken by this point. I obviously needed a dragon most of the time. Getting a dragon for the draft is pretty important. Um, and this is one of the better ones that was left still at this point. So I figured, why as well, may as well just get it now. Why not? And yeah, so I have ground flying and dragon and psychic at the moment. Both of these are immune to ground type moves as well, which is actually pretty nice. So I do have quite the ice weakness at the moment. So especially with my franchise pick, which is also weak to ice. But yeah, if you want to figure out what that is from my team last season, then feel free to have a go at that. But yeah, so Latias, pretty cool mon. Bit bulkier than the Latios, a bit less offensive, but still, like that extra little bit of bulk helps it to set up a bit easier. Also gets some tech moves like Reflect type and Wish as well, so it can be a more defensive Wisher if I feel like running it that way. Steal types from your opponent to help it sit in front of things that it might not normally be able to. I think that's a pretty cool combination, pretty cool thing to have. My third pick coming up was, hmm, was it? I don't know. It was an addition to my team. Just one. Melodic. Okay, so here we go. We're getting an ice switch in. Obviously not a freeze dry switch in. We saw the next slide already, but what can you do? But yeah, this is a nice defensive wall. Marvel scale with like flame orb, something like that, is really useful for this melodic and really useful for my team. Obviously, freeze dry is still a problem, but not something that can't be worked around. Also, this can be quite an offensive monster as well. Just ask Ian. Things like competitive threaten your opponent from running intimidate or bringing in defoggers, like using defog stuff like that. So um, pretty cool there. I haven't been able to use this, but in the past, but I've had to face it many times, and it's always tough to deal with. So let's hope that I'll be able to put that pressure on my opponents with it as well. The pick that we saw just before was my fairy, getting a nice speed tier here, a Rabombi, fairy bug type. So I think I went this whole draft getting sniped um, over and over again. um, but I still managed to get every type covered. All 18 types are covered in this draft of 11 mons, with no types overlapping as well. So that worked out pretty well for me. But yeah, so webs. Webs can be useful, especially if I want to force a defog that I can switch melodic in on. That could be pretty cool. Get that competitive boost that way. But is also a special threat for my team. The Quiver Dance setup possibilities as well. Always something that my opponent's going to have to be looking out for. And that speed tier is just really good, like 124, I think, something like that. I feel like I've had this on a team before. I'm not sure how much you used to put in for me, but yeah, I think it's going to be a useful addition to this team for sure. Up next was that my Mega next? Yes. Okay. Cool. Mega Aggron. So, as I said, quite an ice weakness. Melodic helps a little bit, but freeze dry is still a problem. Not so much anymore because Mega Aggron tanks hits. Like, you don't really need to worry about putting points into defense. Just chuck it all into special defense and health, and this thing is going to tank hits for days. Obviously, it doesn't have any recovery of its own. It can rest, but obviously rest can be unreliable at times. Latias can potentially pass wishes into it, which is cool. But yeah, just a big boy, big bulky boy for my team. Take those ice hits. Latias can take the fighting hits, so can Rabombi. So can Landorus even. Fire hits, Melodic can take those. Latias can take those decently as well. Landorus can even take fire hits okay, depending on its spread. But yeah, and obviously ground, I have Rabombe who resists it, though it's not really bulky enough to want to resist it, like want to take the hit if I can avoid it. but luckily I have things like Landorus T and Latias that can avoid it. So um, weaknesses and stuff like that are covered pretty well so far, I believe. Mega Aggron obviously also gets things like Stealth Rocks, Roar, Dragon Tail, stuff like that can be really useful for a team to have. So yeah, I feel like this definitely isn't the Mega that I uh, specifically wanted. I was going to pick up Sil Valley and this thing, but then Sil Valley got sniped after I'd already picked this, which changed my team a lot and kind of made me regret picking this thing up. But um, it definitely does work well with the things that I've drafted so far. It does work well with the team that I ended up drafting, but I feel like I would have gone a completely different way if I didn't get sniped on a couple of things. But that's okay, that happens. Next up, I grabbed Rotom Heat. So while I don't really have a huge steel weakness at the moment with the Mega Aggron there and Melodic, Rotom Heat does give me that 4 times resist to steel, I believe. Um, so that helps Rabombi a little bit. It obviously avoids ground type moves outside of things with Mold Breaker, Terravolt, etc. Um, gives me a reliable defogger, even though it is weak to the rocks. It can still be really good for getting rid of those hazards, especially spikes and T-spikes, since it doesn't get poisoned that way. Like my team is really my team. You don't want to bring T-spikes against. Like it doesn't hit anything. um, so just a word of advice to my opponents: don't worry about bringing T-spikes against me. It's all good. You don't need to. It's not going to work. Um, but yeah, this can deal with spikes. It can still deal with stealth rocks, but yeah, things like overheat and ice. That's also a great addition to my team. Adelaide Overheat and the Rotom Heat. So that's pretty neat. Yes, I'm a rap god. What can I say? But yeah, so yeah, it gives me some more momentum as well with that Volt Switch, so that goes well with the U-turn for the Lando. Um, pretty neat there. Also, lots of tech moves, Pain Split, Will-O-Wisp, Thunderwave, stuff like that, just utility. But it can also be fairly offensive as well if it has to be, so that's pretty cool. Next up, we had the Toxicroak. I've been wanting to try this thing for a long time. Poison fighting type, lots of psychic weakness there, but obviously I've got Latias, I've got Mega Aggron um, that are going to help with that. So it's not a huge deal. Ground type weaknesses, obviously most of my team is uh, levitating or resists it or is bulky enough that it doesn't really matter. Um, but yeah, this thing is quite an offensive presence. It's going to go well with webs, I think. Um, like, I mean, it's probably not the optimal offensive presence for my team, but it's what I could get at the time, and it fit my team really nicely. Um, as I said before, toxic spikes aren't great against my team, but this does give me an absorber if someone, for some reason, does decide they want to bring it. Though, I mean, at this point, I could probably bring a team that doesn't get affected by toxic spikes at all. Like, I could bring Landorus, I could bring Melodic with the Flame Orb, get that Flame Orb up before the toxic spike comes down. Rotom Heat, Mega Aggron, Latias, Toxicroak. Like, I could potentially bring a team that doesn't have to worry about toxic spikes at all. So, yeah, I would not expect spikes to come against me season. But yeah, so Toxicroak does have the ability to be a mixed attacker, which is pretty cool. Um, obviously, its attack is higher than its special attack, but it does get set up on both sides, which is neat. And with webs up, it can definitely be quite threatening. So, looking forward to using this. I've been wanting to work this onto a team for so long, and yeah, I just managed to make it fit here, so pretty cool. Sneasel, my next pick, Ice Dark. Once again, types I hadn't had covered yet, and uh, slotted in nicely with the points I had left. Not the most powerful mon. Weavile would have been nicer, but I obviously did not have the points for that, and Austin took the very next round, like the very next pick, I should say. It was pretty funny. Like, I took Sneasel, he took Weavile, back to back. Um, but yeah, this thing gets still gets the same coverage that Weavile does mainly. Like it has that Ice Shard, it's got that Icicle Crash, it's got the knockoff Pursuit. Um, I think it still has the like yeah the coverage moves like Dig and stuff like that that you might occasionally use. See Dig something. Um, obviously its offenses are a little bit weaker, so quite often relies on like a life orb or a choice band to be outputting significant damage, but it's fast enough. Like it's a good speed tier, which is half the reason I took it as well. Um, but it's fast enough that it can be hard to stop if you've managed to chip your opponents just that little bit enough. Um, yes, so Porygon Z is my second to last pick. Um, it obviously there's still 2 free slots there, but then my franchise pick will pop up at the end there. But yeah, Porygon Z. Once again, it's going to be pretty threatening with the webs down, but it also does get that analytic that it can use if it's going to be slower than a bunch of stuff to get some big hits off that way. Adaptability, hitting with those like tri attacks or even double edges or hyper beams or something like that. Z moves of both those ones are pretty neat. Not many switch ins for that, especially if you get the relevant download boosts or something like that. Or as I said, like adaptability is good as well. But yeah, going to be a pretty good addition to my team. It does get a little bit of useful utility as well. It does also get healing, self healing. Get some nasty plot as well. So definitely going to be a threat here. With webs up, it's going to be quite interesting. So I mean, it can double dance as well with like agility, nasty plot. So even if I don't bring webs, my opponent has to be worried about that for sure. And then my last pick, which was my T5 pick, was Rampardos. So another rock setter, massive attack stat. Not very fast, but those webs are going to help. And then webs with agility, not much is going to be able to outspeed this. Maybe like Scarf Zero Aura. If I manage to get webs up and then get a rock polish up as well. But yeah, going to be hitting damn hard, especially with like sheer force boost on some things, or could be rock head. I think its ability is, and just spam those rock head smashes. Um, nothing's really going to want to step in the way of that with that kind of attack behind it. Um, maybe like a super defensive resist, but yeah, gonna break teams. And then my franchise pick was uh, my Gloomon for last season. Really, it's it held my team together, and I feel like it holds the defensive um the defensive line of this team together as well. And that is Gorgeist. So yeah, we've got Gorgeist here, which covers Mega Aggron's ground weakness. It covers Mega Aggron's fighting weakness. Um, Mega Aggron covers its ice weakness, obviously. Um, then we've got Rotom Heat, which covers its fire weakness. It covers its ice weakness as well. Covers its I mean, that's the only real weakness it covers. And Orlando Asterion helps out as well. Um, Like Land of Syrian, Rotom Heat, Gorgeist, and Mega Aggron all work really well together as a defensive core, I feel like. So I'm glad to have Gorgeist back on my squad, and I'm glad to have it. Yeah, and I'm glad to have it with these other three defensive threats. Or Melodic as well, actually. Yeah. So Mega Aggron and Gorgeist and Rotom cover for Melodic's uh, grass weaknesses and electric weaknesses. So, and yeah, Lando Syrian also helps out with that electric weakness at the very least. So, yeah, um, pretty solid defensive core there. Those five. So yeah, happy to have them all. I feel like there's a decent amount more synergy going on with my team this season than there was last season. But yeah, we'll have to see how the season goes. I am versing Pamu and the Helsinki Heat first up. This week, I believe, is week one. So, um, yeah, expect a battle soon. Thank you for watching this draft analysis, and I will catch you all later.